The Silent Siege. The skies above Meridian had been clear for centuries. That's why they chose it. A tranquil world at the edge of the Orion Arm, far from the politics and wars of the Galactic Conclave. The first colonists arrived 3 generations ago, seeking not wealth or power but simplicity. They built their homes in the shadow of crystalline mountains, planted their crops in soil that sparkled with traces of native minerals, and looked up at twin moons that cast a gentle blue light over the landscape. Commander Ilara Voss stood at the observation tower, watching that peaceful sky fill with unfamiliar shadows. They had appeared 14 days ago. Massive ships of unknown design, hanging in geosynchronous orbit like obsidian splinters against the stars. No communications, no demands, no attack. Just silent observation. Anything? Ilara asked, not turning from the window. Chief Communications Officer Maya Chen shook her head. Nothing. I've tried every frequency, every protocol. They're receiving our signals. The transmission indicators confirm it. But they're not responding. And still no word from the Conclave. Our distress call reached 6 relay stations. All confirmed receipt. Maya's voice tightened. No response. Ilara wasn't surprised. Meridian had always been an afterthought to the Galactic Conclave. Too remote to defend. Too resource-poor to exploit. Too politically insignificant to protect. When they'd applied for colony status 20 years ago, the approval had come with a diplomatic addendum. Self-sufficiency expected. Diplomatic language for you're on your own. Governor Reed wants to evacuate the southern settlements, Maya said quietly. The orbital scans show movement in the lowlands. Whatever those ships sent down is getting closer. Ilara nodded. Tell him to proceed. And double the power to the shield generators. We might not have military-grade defenses, but we can at least make them work for it. The colony had never been designed for war. Meridian's 15,000 residents were scientists, farmers, engineers, and families who had chosen this distant world precisely because it offered escape from conflict. Their defenses were environmental shields meant to protect against the planet's occasional electromagnetic storms, not weapons of war. Their ships were atmospheric shuttles and short-range transports, not battle cruisers. Night fell across Meridian's capital settlement of Haven. Families gathered in community centers turned shelters. Children asked questions no one could answer. Adults packed emergency supplies and whispered theories about the silent watchers above. In the communications hub, Maya stayed at her post, broadcasting the same message on repeat. This is Meridian Colony requesting immediate assistance. We are under observation by unknown vessels. Our population is civilian. Please respond. On the 5th day of silence, the first attack came. It wasn't an orbital bombardment or a massive invasion, just surgical precision. 3 research outposts on the northern continent went dark simultaneously. The automated defense drones sent back fragmented footage. Bipedal figures moving with unnatural speed. Armor that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Weapons that made no sound but left nothing behind. They're testing our defenses, said Security Chief Darius Kell, a former Conclave military advisor who had retired to Meridian for its peace. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Probing for weaknesses before they commit their main force. Why? Asked Governor Reed, a tall man whose academic demeanor had been replaced by haggard exhaustion. We have nothing they could want. No strategic value, no rare resources. Maybe it's not about what we have, Ilara suggested. Maybe it's about what we are. The theory gained weight when the second wave came 3 days later. This time, the attackers bypassed empty facilities and targeted population centers. The southern agricultural district was hit first. 3,000 colonists evacuated just hours before mysterious energy signatures were detected moving through their abandoned homes. Sensor readings showed the attackers methodically collecting biological samples. Soil from farms, water from purification systems, tissue from livestock left behind. They're studying us. Dr. Imani Okafor, the colony's chief xenobiologist, concluded after analyzing the data. This isn't a conquest, it's a dissection. By the 10th day, Haven was the last settlement still holding out. The shield generators strained against periodic testing probes from the ships above. Power reserves dwindled. Food supplies, while adequate, were finite. And still, no word from the Conclave. Maya intercepted communications between Conclave vessels at the edge of the system. They were observing, documenting, but not intervening. Official policy classified the situation as an incident of undefined origin, requiring further assessment before determination of appropriate response. "They're watching us die," Darius said flatly when she reported this. That night, Ilara made a decision. In the communications hub, she activated an old transmitter, one that predated the colony, salvaged from the original settlement ship. It operated on frequencies no longer monitored by modern systems, using protocols considered obsolete by Conclave standards. "What are you doing?" Maya asked. "Trying something desperate." Ilara's fingers moved across the antiquated controls with practiced precision. "Before I came to Meridian, I served on a deep space cartography vessel. We charted regions beyond Conclave territory. Beyond, there's nothing out there except the territories that went dark after the severance," Ilara finished. "The human worlds that cut ties with the Conclave when Earth was abandoned during the Nexus War." Maya's eyes widened. "You're contacting Earth. That's. They've been silent for nearly a century. Some say they don't even exist anymore. Maybe, but right now we need help from someone who still remembers what it means to be human. The Conclave has made its choice. They've decided we're acceptable casualties." Ilara activated the transmitter. "If humanity still exists out there somewhere, they deserve to know what's happening here." The message was simple: coordinates, situation assessment, and a closing that would mean nothing to alien ears, but everything to human ones. "This is Meridian Colony. We are under attack by unknown forces. The Conclave has abandoned us. If anyone remembers the Earthen Oath, now is the time. We are the distant children of Terra, and we stand alone." For 3 more days they waited. The alien ships began a more aggressive approach. The shield flickered as power reserves approached critical levels. Governor Reed prepared for final evacuation into the underground caverns, a last resort that would buy them days at most. On the 14th day, as dawn broke over the crystalline mountains, Maya burst into the command center. "Commander, I'm picking up something at the edge of the system. Multiple signatures, moving fast, faster than any Conclave ship I've ever tracked." Darius examined the readings, his face pale. "Those energy signatures. They don't match any known configuration. On the screens, objects emerged from what appeared to be self-generated spatial distortions, a technology theoretical but never successfully implemented. Dozens of vessels, their hulls gleaming with a metallic sheen that seemed to shift between silver and midnight blue, depending on how the light hit them. "Are they responding to communications?" Ilara asked, her voice steady, despite the hope threatening to crack it. Maya adjusted her equipment. "They're broadcasting on our frequency, but it's encoded." "Wait." Her fingers flew across the console. "It's an old Earth military cipher, pre-Conclave." When the message finally decoded, a single line appeared on their screens. "Meridian Colony. This is the Earth Reclamation Force 7th Fleet. The children of Terra are never alone. Hold position. We're coming home. Unexpected saviors." The Earth ships arrived like ghosts from forgotten legend, silent, precise, overwhelming in their sudden presence. They did not announce themselves to the alien vessels with warnings or demands. There were no diplomatic overtures, no attempts at communication, just immediate, devastating action. The first alien ship shattered in orbit before Meridian's colonists fully realized what was happening. One moment it hung in the sky like a malevolent star. The next, it fractured into burning fragments that scattered across the upper atmosphere in a spectacular display of orange fire and blue-white energy discharges. What just hit them? Darius asked, voice barely above a whisper as he watched the tactical display. No one had an answer. The Earth vessels, if that's truly what they were, employed weapons technology unlike anything recorded in Conclave archives. There were no energy beam signatures, no missile trajectories, no obvious projectile impacts. The alien ships simply failed, their systems collapsing in cascading sequences that left them dead in space or tearing themselves apart from within. In Haven's communications hub, the first direct transmission from the Earth fleet arrived, audio only, in a voice that held the calm confidence of absolute certainty. Meridian Colony, this is Admiral Helena Vasily of the Earth Reclamation Force. We have control of your orbital space. Stand by for ground teams to secure your perimeter. The enemy ground forces are being neutralized as we speak. Outside, colonists emerge from shelters to witness streaks of light descending through the atmosphere. Not the weapons fire they had feared, but dropships entering with controlled precision. They landed not in Haven itself, but in a perimeter around it, where sensor readings had detected the approaching alien ground forces. What followed was not a battle so much as an erasure. The alien attackers, so methodical in their advance, so seemingly unstoppable for 2 weeks, simply ceased to exist wherever they encountered the Earth forces. Colony sensors couldn't even track what was happening. They registered Earth troops deploying, then alien signatures disappearing, with no exchange of energy weapons or conventional explosives in between. 6 hours after their arrival, Admiral Vasily landed in Haven's central plaza. She was not what most colonists expected. Not a towering figure of military might, but a compact woman in her 50s, with silver-shot black hair cut in a practical style and eyes that held both intensity and compassion. Her uniform was understated, navy blue with minimal insignia. No medals or decorations, just a small patch on the right shoulder showing the stylized Earth symbol encircled by stars. Governor Reed and Commander Ilara met her at the landing pad. "Admiral," Ilara began, "we don't know how to thank." Vasily cut her off with a raised hand. "Say your thanks. We came because you're ours. That's all the reason Earth has ever needed." She gestured to the officers accompanying her. "My tactical team will brief your security personnel on what we're dealing with. My medical units are setting up to treat any injured. Once we've secured the planet, we'll discuss restoration of your outer settlements." Her efficiency was almost jarring, as if rescuing abandoned colonies was routine operation rather than the stuff of impossible hope. In the colony's administrative center, the Admiral finally revealed more to Meridian's Leadership Council. Her briefing was direct, devoid of diplomatic niceties or political hedging, a stark contrast to Conclave communications. "The species attacking you calls themselves the Harvesters," Vasily explained, activating a holographic display showing anatomical details of the aliens. "They're biological collectors. They identify viable ecosystems, study the dominant species, then extract genetic material and environmental samples before sterilizing the planet for their own use." "But why didn't they just attack immediately?" Dr. Okafor asked. "Why the silent observation? Assessment phase. They study resistance capabilities before committing resources. Your shields confuse them. They're accustomed to finding pre-spaceflight civilizations or abandoned outposts. A human colony with moderate technology presented an unknown variable." Governor Reed leaned forward. "Admiral, we've been broadcasting distress signals to the Conclave for 2 weeks. They received them. They chose not to respond. But somehow you heard us from wherever Earth is now." Vasily's expression hardened slightly. "Earth has maintained listening posts throughout former colonial space since the severance. We monitor for exactly this type of situation. But Earth cut all ties with the Conclave and its colonies almost a century ago," Maya said. "After the Nexus War, when the Conclave abandoned Earth and its closest settlements to the Nexus incursion," Vasily finished. "Yes, but we never abandoned our responsibility to humanity. We simply reassessed our strategic position. The truth emerged piece by piece over the following days. After the Nexus War, when alien forces had threatened to overrun the Sol system and the Conclave had withdrawn support to protect its core systems, Earth had not been destroyed as many believed. They had fought back alone, developed new technologies born of desperate necessity, and eventually secured their system. But the betrayal had changed something fundamental in humanity's approach to galactic affairs. Earth and its closest colonies had withdrawn not out of defeat, but out of profound disillusionment. They severed official ties with the Conclave, disabled the wormhole network connecting them to Conclave space, and vanished behind a communications blackout so complete that many assumed they had fallen. In reality, they had been building, learning, preparing. "We call it the Vigil," Vasily explained during a more private conversation with Ilara. They stood on Haven's observation deck, watching Earth forces systematically dismantle the remaining alien vessels in orbit. "For 97 years, we've maintained constant surveillance over every human settlement, every colony that was once part of Earth's sphere. We don't interfere in their development. We don't reveal our presence, but we watch, and when necessary, we act. But why stay hidden? Why not announce yourselves?" Vasily's gaze remained on the operation outside. "Because the Conclave and its politics nearly destroyed us once. We had to choose, rejoin a system that had proven it would sacrifice us when convenient or forge our own path. We chose independence. At the cost of isolation," Ilara observed. "Not isolation. Autonomy. Earth maintains connections with 17 former colonies that chose to join what we now call the Terran Covenant. We've developed technologies the Conclave can barely theorize about. We've explored regions of space they consider impossible to navigate." She turned to face Ilara directly. "And we've never stopped protecting our own, whether they knew we were there or not." The Admiral's words were confirmed when Conclave vessels finally arrived 3 days after Earth's intervention. By then, the alien threat had been eliminated. Earth ships had established a defensive perimeter around Meridian, and reconstruction of the damaged settlements was already underway. The Conclave diplomatic vessel that made contact seemed genuinely shocked to find Earth forces in control of the situation. Their carefully prepared statements about assessment procedures and proportional response protocols fell flat when confronted with the reality that Earth had accomplished in hours what the Conclave had deemed too risky to attempt at all. More shocking to the Conclave representatives was Admiral Vasily's revelation that this was not an isolated incident. Over the past century, Earth forces had quietly intervened in 17 similar situations across former human space, always appearing when needed, completing their mission, then vanishing again before official Conclave forces arrived. "The Harvesters have been operating in this sector for decades," Vasily informed the stunned Conclave delegation. "They've taken 11 worlds while your assessment committees deliberated. We've stopped them at 12 others besides Meridian. You've been documenting the symptoms without recognizing the disease." The implications were staggering. Earth, far from the defeated, isolated power many had assumed, had been operating a shadow defense network more effective than the Conclave's official protection fleets. They had developed technologies that made Conclave systems look primitive by comparison, and they had done it all while maintaining such perfect operational security that the Conclave's vaunted intelligence services had detected nothing. On the day before the Earth fleet departed, Admiral Vasily presented Governor Reed with a choice. "Meridian can remain as it is, nominally under Conclave protection, though we've seen what that's worth. Or you can join the Terran Covenant. We don't ask for resources or political allegiance. We only require 2 things: that you maintain absolute secrecy about Earth's true status, and that you uphold the core principle of the Covenant." "Which is?" Reed asked. "No human stands alone," Ilara said quietly, remembering the earthen oath she had referenced in her desperate message. "That's it, isn't it?" Vasily nodded. "Precisely." The vote among Meridian's population was nearly unanimous. 3 days later, as the last Earth vessels prepared to depart, a small ceremony took place in Haven's central plaza. The conclave flag was respectfully lowered, and in its place rose a new banner, midnight blue with a silver earth surrounded by stars, one for each covenant world. As she watched the flag rise, Ilara stood beside Maya, who had recorded everything since the first alien ships appeared. "Do you think the conclave understands what just happened?" Maya asked. "What it means for their position in the galaxy?" Ilara considered the question. The conclave representatives had departed quickly after their uncomfortable encounter with Vasily, undoubtedly rushing back to report on the shocking resurgence of Earth as a power. They would analyze, theorize, debate, all the things that had left Meridian defenseless in the first place. "I think they understand they're no longer the only power determining humanity's fate," she answered finally. "But they don't yet grasp what humanity has become in their absence." Above them, the Earth fleet disappeared one by one, not through conventional jump points, but by generating the same spatial distortions that had heralded their arrival. They left behind not only a secure colony but a profound shift in understanding. The last transmission from Admiral Vasily's vessel was broadcast across the entire settlement, a final reassurance and a promise. "Remember, Meridian, the children of Terra are never alone. We will be watching. Always." As the message faded, Ilara looked up at the newly peaceful sky and, for the first time in weeks, felt not fear or uncertainty, but something long forgotten by those who had lived under the conclave's calculated protection. The absolute certainty that should danger come again, humanity would answer. Not with committees or assessments or diplomatic calculations of acceptable losses, but with unwavering resolve and a promise kept across the stars. No human stands alone.